Hello again, everybody. This is a tutorial about the best meters on the market, and as you know, I always talked about Fluke. Fluke is the best meter because something called input impedance. Input impedance is very essential for accuracy. This has 10 million ohms input impedance, which means it does not load down the circuit. You will have a very accurate measurement. Now, it's a digital meter, and that's why. Now, as you see over here, on the other meters, you have ranges that you can select. Not just, this is obviously DC volts, this is AC volts over here. Usually it'll tell you like 220, 2. It doesn't have that on this. That's why I like this. It makes it very simple, even for the beginner learning how to use meters. This is the best meter to learn from. All you do is put on volts. If it's DC, you put it on DC, which is set to. Now I just have a simple 9.2 volt battery, right? What I like for the beginner is not only do you don't have to worry about the range, 220 volts, whatever. Just put on volts. It tells you automatic. But what it also tells you is, it tells you that DC volts is right here. You have it set to DC volts. So you can't even make a mistake. You put on DC volts over here, look at the straight line, and it tells you DC volts. So even if you're not sure about this, it will actually show you visually what selector you just selected. Now, just like I said before, you don't have to worry about ranges. It does auto. You see over here it says auto? It automatically selects the range that's proper or good for the thing that you are measuring. So in other words, how many decimal places do I want? Usually if I'm measuring a 9-volt battery, I could measure maybe 9 volts, or I can measure 9.2 volts, or if I want to be more precise, I can measure 9.28, and that's why he knows how to give you how many decimal points for accuracy. The other thing is, if you look at it, it's almost this scale over here is 40 volts. So if you want to go like analog, this is 40 volts, 30 volts, 20 volts, 10 volts, a little under 10 volts, 9.2 is right over here. If you're going to use this meter, why use that if you have this? Obviously, the whole purpose is to use this. So that's the purpose of that. So this is why I say, if you're a beginner, this is the best thing. And also for the light, if you're in dark places, see, it's hard to see it. You're working at night, easy. Put the light switch on. Other thing is over here, when you see the range switch and you see the minimum and maximum, if I can do it, the minimum and maximum will give you voltages, but it has to be around 100 milliseconds, the pulse. So let's say it's fluctuating. Let's say this voltage measurement is going up to 9.4, 9.2, 9.1, and you want to get an accurate measurements. Well, if you're looking for the highest one, let's say it went up to 9.28. That's the highest one. It'll tell you maximum 9.28. Let's say I want to put it on minimum. Let's say it fell. Let's say it went to 9.18. I want the minimum. It's going to tell me 9.18 as the minimum. Let's say I want to average it out. It keeps on fluctuating, and I need a steady measurement, right? So there it is. It'll give you the average. So again, let's say it's going from 9.3, 9.2, 9.1. You can give it or select it for average. It'll give you the average value, so it doesn't drive you crazy figuring out when it fluctuates up and down in values. That's why I like this type of meter. Other thing is, over here, if I go back, let me show you. Okay, hold on. Okay, put it back into that. Let's say I want to measure something. I don't want to keep the probe there. As you see, I have the two probes over here, right? Let's say I'm in a place near the engine or somewhere where there's a belt or the pulleys are turning. I just want to make a quick measurement. I put on hold. Now, watch what happens when I take away the probe. I'm going to take away the probe. I'm going to take away this probe. See, it held the value. See, I only have one probe connected to it, the negative. Doesn't matter if it's a negative or a positive, but it holds that value, so I don't have to keep on putting this on the circuit or the component, whatever it needs. That's why I love these functions. It's called the hold. It puts it in memory, take away the probe, and it hold it for you. One beautiful thing. Okay, let's go back. Now, other thing, let me start again to show you. For volts, as I said before, this is auto. It'll give you the automatic range that's good for you to see the most amount of decimal points that you need. In this case, 9.28. I could get away with 9.2 volts also, right? But 9 volts is a little too small because I want to see what's after the 9 volts. 9.2, 9.3, 9.4. So if you're measuring a battery voltage and you're just measuring 12 volts, that doesn't help. Then I'll measure 12.1 volt. Okay, then I know. If I want to be more precise, I'll measure 12.12 volts. That's why this is auto. I could take it out of auto, where it says here range. So, see what I'm saying? I can make it 9.3, but that's not so precise. Go to the next one. This is called manual. I took it out of auto. That's 9 volts. That doesn't tell me much. So if I'm measuring a battery voltage, it just tells me 12 volts. It's not good because is it 12.1, 12.2, 12.3? So therefore, this manual that I just chose for the best possible decimal places is the same as auto, which is off now. So auto knows which decimal places to give me as if I would do it by manual. Okay? That's that. So that's for DC volts. The other one down, obviously, is AC volts. Now, this is called true RMS. This is a RMS meter. In other words, sometimes you'll measure a sine wave. AC is a sine wave. Sometimes you'll measure a square wave. Obviously, in automotive, we don't need this. Sometimes you do measure signals, hertz, and all that. But I wouldn't really worry about that much about AC. But the purpose of this is for beginners who are not familiar and sometimes are intimidated by how to use these type of meters. This is the best kind of meter. All you have to do is, if I want to measure ohms, I'll put it on ohms over here. Right now, DC volts told me DC volts. AC volts, it'll tell me AC millivolts. Okay? If I want to measure DC millivolts, all I have to do is look over here and it'll tell me. And in that case, this will be 400 millivolts, 300 millivolts, 200 millivolts, 100 millivolts, whatever the range is. Now, if I want to measure, obviously, continuity, I put it on ohms. And it tells you it's on auto mode. That means it'll automatically find the range with the decimal places that's good enough. And mega ohm, 40 mega ohm. That means the highest that this could go is 40 mega ohm. So if I'm measuring 50 mega ohm, it'll be outer limit or open loop. What I'm measuring right now is open. I'm not measuring anything. That's why I'm measuring more. And you see the arrow pointing this way, meaning this is more than 40 mega ohm. 40 million ohms, because it's open. It's open. I don't have it connected to anything. That's why ohms, millivolts, volt. The most important for automotive, ohms, volts DC. Sometimes you do have to measure AC, like I said. Diode, you don't do too many diode tests. Amps, you see this? This is either I can choose DC or AC. Let's try it. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. Now, see, this is milliamps. But this is milliamps up to 4,000 milliamps. But it's DC. But this tells me that I could do DC and AC. How do I change it to AC? Right? If you notice, or it's a little hard to see it from the camera angle, this is in blue. AC is in blue. Over here, AC is in blue. this capacitor, if you want to measure capacitor, is in blue. What do you think you have to press in order to activate the AC? Take a guess. See the blue? That's the blue. Now I'm into AC milliamps, 4,000 milliamps. So whenever I want to measure something, if it's in blue, I press the blue button. How easy is that for beginners? That's why I recommend this. This is the 83 model. Like I said, they're not that expensive. You could easily get them, but it's not a clamp meter, like I always talk about. But for beginners, if you are not familiar with measuring batteries or things like that, DC, AC, you're not sure, this is the best meter out there. Trust me, it is precise. If you want to measure TPS sensors, you need 1/100th of a volt. 100th of a volt, let's say 0.46, 0.47 volts, 0.48 volts, 0.49 volts. This is precise. How do you know it's precise? All right? How do we know that these type of instruments are precise? And this doesn't have it, but there is something called, with these type of instruments, called calibration. These instruments are calibrated by a company to make sure that if I read 12 volts, how do I know it's 12 volts? How do I know it's accurate? They calibrate it, and they have a sticker they put on it. From 1 year, you get it calibrated. That means if this measures 12 volts, I know it's 12 volts, it's accurate. If you don't see that sticker on an instrument, it is not accurate. Do not rely on that instrument. So if I go to a repair shop and I see their instruments are not calibrated, I don't want to have anything to do with that, because my measurements will not be accurate. Therefore, what I'm saying is, how do you know, let's say on your speedometer, how do you know when it says 55 miles an hour? It's really 55. Maybe it's 50. Maybe it's 60. Everything has been calibrated. Just like the same thing with the meter, with the oscilloscope. We used to even calibrate the soldering irons, believe it or not. 700 degrees. I want to make sure it's 700 degrees. Maybe it's 800 degrees. They need a calibration. Instruments need calibration to make sure that they are precise and accurate. Anyway, I hope this helped you. Please, for beginners in electronics or electrical, whatever, consider this type of instrument. Do not consider the other one where you do the range 200, 20, 2000 volt. It's confusing. And it doesn't tell you what you selected. This tells you what you selected. In milliamp, I'm measuring current, AC. I'm in auto mode, right? Up to 4,000 milliamps. You can't make a mistake. Anyway, thanks for the subscribers over there. Thanks for the subscribers. And like I said, the views, hopefully one day I'll do tags on them and descriptions about. A great majority of them don't have it, and YouTube doesn't rank them high. That's why when I get to it, hopefully I'll do it, and it'll improve, hopefully, my channel. Thanks for watching.